K-Rock, Mid-Atlantic Rock Reviews, Marmy Rock Show. This is like one of the coolest interviews I've ever done because I've been fans of you guys, like two guys you both know that I'm big fans of both of you. So I've got Danny from Taiketo, I've got Johnny from Doro and Brittany Fox and the InXS Experience, and what the hell else are you doing these days? Every other band up and down the East Coast and in Europe. So guys, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thanks, buddy.
I think we're about to delve into some very murky waters, aren't we?
We're going to test our strength of brain cells. And
yeah, it's almost like a Jeopardy appearance.
So for folks that may be wondering, so going back, is it, let's see, 25 years, 30 years ago, you guys were in Waysted together, and I thought, man, I've always been bugging Johnny to like see you guys actually play on the ship, but so we're going to do like a look back in time, so just, I want to kind of reflect back on it. Tell folks about like the beginnings of how you first met. Was it in Waysted?
Yeah,
it was.
Yeah, it was. I think I was in Waysted just a little bit before Johnny, and that was due to, I mean, this is pre-internet days, and I'm going to try and make this story short. But you know, we're all playing around in cover bands in the New Jersey, Philly, New York area, and somebody comes walking up to me one day and says, Paul Chapman's looking for your number. Me being a UFO fan, I'm like, that got my attention, and it also made me immediately like, oh yeah, sure, of course he is. Well, here's the phone number, call him. Anyway, short of it is that it really was true, and it was through a gentleman named Jim DeLella who was playing keyboards with Paul in his solo band at the time. So I ended up going down to Florida thinking this is the big time, quickly finding out it was not.
Actually, quite opposite.
Quite the opposite. We were sleeping on couches.
Splitting a boiled egg.
Yeah. Chapman was, the second day of rehearsal, we'd been locked out because he hadn't paid the rehearsal fee, so there was a big padlock on the door.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff, Anyway, it was an interesting experience, and another Philly boy was on that one, Ron Damiani.
Right.
Remember?
Right.
We were just talking about. I was talking with Billy
Jim.
about him last night.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So basically, what Paul Chapman said was, we got this demo together, and he said, I'm going back to England, and because I'm obviously, he knew the guys at Chrysalis and EMI, and he says, shop it to them, we'll get us a deal. Well, what he did do is he went back to England, met Pete Way in a pub, got drunk, and joined Waysted, and forgot all about us. So a year goes by, and once again, I think through Paul, I get contact. I'm working for the phone company at that point. I'm working in just a corporate legal office, and it's and this is so typical of the way they did everything. We're having a bit of a falling out with the singer, and we've got this gig in Tel Aviv, Israel, and he doesn't want to do it. You want to do it? We don't want to do a cattle call. Paul says you're good. So if you just learn some songs, we'll fly you to England for 2 days and rehearse, and then we'll go to Israel and do the show in a stadium. Is this happening? What's going on? And again, to shorten it, all this actually occurred. At the time, it was UFO's drummer.
Andy.
Yeah, Parker. Parker was on drums. Parker instructed me in some of my first rock and roll debauchery, which involved throwing large pieces of fruit off a hotel roof. And so basically that was my audition. And there were a number of different bands on the bill. Marillion was headlining.
Oh, wow.
But it was a bizarre lineup. Climax Blues Band,
Alvin Lee.
Al Di Meola, Alvin Lee.
That is a bizarre lineup.
Billy Cobham. Yeah, it was because it was a jazz fest in town. And basically it was supposed to be a 3-day festival. We all played on the first day. The promoter took all the money and left the country. But he paid the room bill for 3 days, so everybody just hung out and drank, And so basically, after the first day, all those bands played, and I'm completely hungover the next morning. And Jimmy DeLella walks in. He says, "Well, I guess you're in." And he throws this the 2 main newspapers of Tel Aviv have my picture.
Oh, wow.
Wearing, honestly, an outfit that would have made Freddie Mercury blush. It was those days. Red and white spandex, single-piece jumpsuit. Yes, I do.
Cool.
Yeah, I still have that. That's how I got in.
So, and then, Johnny, your entry into
my story's equally insane. I think I initiated sort of the whole thing with Jimmy because I had a Kerrang magazine which said, in the front pages, they always had these like updates, news and whatnot, and it said Paul Chapman looking for basically a Paul Raymond type player with rhythm guitar and keys. And I was like, dude, Paul Chapman from UFO. He's living in Florida and he's looking for you. You know, and he's like, what? And I said, you got to do it. You got to get something and send it to him. You know, like Danny said, no internet, nothing. It was basically like write a resume and like type it up and send. You know, it was like we're freaking jamming in our basements and in, you know, cover bands, and we had no idea how to get a real gig. You know, and so Jim sent him us like, you know, I went to Juilliard, blah, 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 I can play this and that, and la, 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 a bunch of made-up bullshit, and...
I know the entire Kansas back catalog.
Right. And basically, Paul was like, you know, can you be here tomorrow? And he was like, yeah, so he got the gig, and him, actually, and Ronnie got the gig together. They drove down to Florida with a car and a U-Haul, and it was Ronnie Damiani was a killer lead guitarist. I guess Paul wanted another guy behind him or whatever, so they went down, and that was pre-Dan. I guess the original singer that they had a falling out with was when Jimmy said to Paul that I saw this dude in New York once, Danny, and he was it Allied Force?
Allied Forces, yeah. Another cover
so
band.
Jimmy had just seen Dan sing, and he was like, his voice was insane, and we got to find him somehow. So then they started calling managers in New York, and everybody was like trying to see who knew him, and
I had no idea.
Yeah, and that was that's probably when you got the call or the word from whoever.
I don't even know.
Started,
it was
right?
just like a punter in the crowd,
right?
You know,
because I know they were trying to contact managers that might have known you and this and that. But anyway, he got the call, and I just kind of followed what they were doing at that point. And then when it fizzled the first time, because Paul basically had nothing other than a few like, oh, we can open for Ted Nugent and we can do a gig with the Outlaws or whatever. He was like cashing in all these favors.
Yeah.
And but nobody was biting. So like Dan said, he went to England with this demo, was thinking, you know, I'll take that over and maybe get some bites over there, because, you know, the UFO were huge in England. And again, got drunk with Pete in a pub and joined the band, and then it was like, okay, we're going in to make a record, and that was the Good, the Bad, the Waysted album. And they called Jimmy up to play keys on that, so he joined Waysted. Paul, so it was Paul, Jimmy, Pete Way, and Jerry Shirley on drums, and they did that record. They did a few gigs, TV shows, blah blah blah, and then I guess Jerry said, you know, I'm out of here, and that's kind of when Andy stepped in, and Dan came out to Israel, and then from that point, what happened after that? You just kind of went home and sat for a while, or
not too long? Yeah, I mean, and then eventually it came down to the next really clear memory of what happened next was that I ended up with Pete in Denmark, and we started writing the album. The next really clear memory of what happened next was that I ended up with Pete in Denmark, and we started writing the album. You know, and which, to my memory, was a case of Pete, for instance, showing me, you know, da 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 da. Then you play this little riff, you know, and it's I think it's called "Heroes Die Young." I want to write it about, you know, like Bon Scott, one of my heroes. Okay, bye. And he walked out, and he and his girlfriend would go out shopping the whole day, and I'm sitting in a house in Denmark with this da 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 da, you know, and so he'd come back, and I go, what about this? And wrote out this whole song. Yeah, that's brilliant. Let's do that. And we kind of wrote most of the songs like that, except for So Long, which Paul brought from the DOA band.
Right. Yeah. So I guess at that point, Jerry was not into touring or anything, and he kind of got out of the band at that time. And then of course Jim gets the old, hey, you know anybody? Yeah, I know this guy Johnny D back home, he's great, he's perfect, blah blah blah. And he's basically, it was the most bizarre thing ever, because, you know, you get a call and it's like, hello, Johnny, you know, and this was the manager.
Oh, don't do that voice.
Yeah, this was the
The voice of
legendary
the
manager,
devil.
Wilf Wright,
Oh,
who had
horrible human being.
insanely, robbed UFO blind, and then these guys just went and hired him again.
Is that where
you know?
Here's Hoping It Hurts came from?
He probably could be mixed in there amongst a few
Well, I
other
heard the tune, the
cornholes I know.
UFO tune, "Blinded by a Lie," was written about him.
Yeah.
So you can listen to that and figure it out from there.
He was kind of evil in the sense that he really played the psychological angle on people, badly. He was, my major Spinal Tap moment in my life was through him, which was when we'd finished. We're jumping ahead now, but after we'd done the album, and we were in Oslo. And it was the first night, European tour. We'd gone over there by ferry. Mm-hmm. And it's like, the album's here. Oh, the album, right?
Yeah,
Just like
Spinal
Spinal
Tap,
Tap.
yeah.
Guy comes walking in,
Right.
box comes down, open it up. Whoa, there it is. Stupid cover, but who cares? It's my album. And there's our picture, and everything's great for about 10 minutes. And I'm just, all songs Chapman way.
No.
Eh? I'm certain I wrote all the lyrics. Hang on a minute. Go storming into Wilf's room, and he just played me, and he just looked at me and says, "Well, Dan," he says, "you can tour the world, opening for Status Quo and Iron Maiden for the next 6 months, or you can golf back to Brooklyn and do nothing." And that was
the
that.
old Sharon Osbourne.
That was it. Yeah, old school, man. And so I thought, well, my decision has to be to, kick ass, take names, and make a career out of this.
Yeah, so let's talk about that Iron Maiden tour. I can't believe I'm sitting here with two people who actually toured with Iron Maiden. So what are your guys, some of your favorite memories about that tour?
Well, back then it was,
So many.
we were kind of just, we jumped right onto that tour, and it was like away we go, like, okay, you must now know how to entertain an arena crowd, like from the first second, and I think we all stepped up pretty good. Obviously Pete, being the showman that he was, and Paul, despite all the mania around those guys, they were definitely knew what the hell they were doing when it came to those types.
So
of
did you guys
crowds.
learn that stuff from them? Because you guys are so natural at it now. I mean, you're like a front man as a drummer, and you're a great front.
Maiden were very, very instrumental in all that. I remember sitting at Steve's house and chatting with him about it and confiding him that I was terrified. Like, the last thing you want to do is step out in front of 20,000 people and forget and say, "Don't forget to tip your bartenders and waitresses." And he said, well, he said when Bruce came to us, he said it was the same. And I was like, really surprised. He said, well, Samson was quite a bit different from what was going on. And what he said was he sat Bruce down with all these films of Ian Anderson and Jethro Tull.
Yeah.
Steve Harris's two favorite bands are Jethro Tull and early Genesis. And so he said, if you watch Bruce, and it's true, if you see, Bruce will be and every now and then the leg will come up because Ian Anderson and all that. Yeah, that's all Ian Anderson. And so between that and some other stuff from Bruce about how to, you've got to be in control. And how you control an audience, because quite often, and it happened. You remember one night all those golf balls came flying on stage.
Yeah, beers.
And you just, I got hit in the face with a broken Jack Daniels bottle.
Oh my God.
It was actually the neck, and somebody had just thrown it, and thank God the drinking end hit me in the face. The other end would have cut my face off.
Sheesh.
And I gave Steve Harris the nickname Burgess from that point on, after the Burgess Meredith character in the Rocky films, because it happened right during Won't Get Out Alive, opening song. And so there's a good long guitar solo in the middle, and it was at that point, poff! I was like, went back.
Now, was this like an arena or
swelling
something?
up.
Or was it,
Yeah.
oh, wow.
This was in Rochester, I'm pretty sure.
Security's changed a little over the years. Huh?
Nobody could see it, and so and then I look, and there's the bottle on the thing. My face is swelling up, and so I kind of staggered back and just sat down behind the bass amp for a second. Like, what the hell just happened? And Harry saw it, and he was right there. And all of a sudden, I got these hands on my shoulders, going, "You fucking don't take that from those nuts. You get back out there. You tell him if you see who to fucking kick his ass." And all I could think of was, "Rap, you got to crap lightning and piss thunder," and yeah. So and then the whole, and what was such a lovely thing was, remember Rangy?
Yeah.
He led the whole security team, and they just swept out. Somebody spotted the guy, basically, and they just swept out and found him. So you got bits and pieces like that, but yeah, just every night I'm watching Bruce Dickinson. How can you not learn how to train an audience, how to work with them, how to put on a big show?
Yeah. Was that on the States, or was that a European tour?
Both. We started. Well, Steve was instrumental in basically getting Pete back on his on his wheels, and taking the band to EMI, and the fact that Danny was in the band now. We had a amazing radio style voice. They really wanted to make the band, break the band on a big level instead of just this kind of underground dirty rock band, that Pete had created. So Steve would come around. He came to rehearsals while we were writing, rehearsing for the first gig I did was at the Marquee Club in London, legendary venue, you know what I mean? And it was like, okay, you're in the band now, and you're going to learn, whatever it was, 18 songs, and we're going to play the Marquee. And it was like, okay, anything else you want to, give me pressure with, Oh, yeah, Steve Harris and Bruce Dickinson are going to get up and jam on some UFO at the end,
And we're going to rehearse at Baskerville Hall.
Right. I mean, it was like, this shit doesn't happen anymore. There's just no... people don't have the money to do these things, but we got money from EMI when, a manager that's pretty cutthroat actually did certain things that were, allowed us the luxury to really, do things like this, record at Rockfield Studios, which, God knows how many amazing records have been done there. And so Steve was grooming the band and helping us out immensely, and then he just said, I'm going to take you guys on, it was like, naturally you're going to open for us, and we're going to, make people realize that this band is serious. So first we went to some Eastern Bloc countries, and we played in Yugoslavia and Hungary, and it was like, holy shit, we're playing in a football stadium in front of 30,000 people, So really, when you're, like Dan said, watching Maiden and also being put in front of a crowd that's basically foaming at the mouth, waiting for you to grab them and give them what they want, you learn pretty quick. And we did, and then when the record came out, we got this tour in the States, for Somewhere in Time tour, and I think it was a great bill, actually, and a lot of people that I still meet that saw those shows were like, man, you guys kicked ass. We were the amazing warm-up act for them.
Yeah.
And not many bands got that kind of reception.
I think I agree with Johnny. I think it was a good call, because we were straight up rock bands, pretty stripped down, bass, drums, guitar, vocals. And I think if you'd put on a band of similar nature to Iron Maiden, like a Halloween or a more production band, it wouldn't have made as much sense somehow. And so we were just kind of like the quick 1-2 punch, and mostly well received. I mean, some Maiden fans are just want to see Maiden, and that's it, and you have to, and that's where you get golf balls thrown at you. But to be fair, they threw them at Maiden too. It was very strange.
Oh, wow.
I remember them actually hitting your cymbal, and we were like, "What the hell was that?" And they were just raining down from on high. Which, if they, they'd have knocked you out cold if they'd have hit you. It was crazy.
Hey, so, I was at that age watching all the MTV stuff, and all these cool videos at the time, and we get our stereotype, or maybe it wasn't, that's what I want to know, was the touring life we see, on all the Motley Crue stuff and all that. Was that kind of your experience? Was it as wild as people think, or is that overinflated?
I think there was.
It was too overinflated.
Yeah, we came in at a time which was like, touring with Maiden, I think, was a little bit different, but you certainly had the opportunity to basically do whatever you wanted to do. There was, substances everywhere, and not that they were really partaking, maybe a few here and there, but, like the drink, women, whatever were around. But I think Maiden drew more of a serious crowd as opposed to, say, Motley Crue or something where it's all chicks and Poison and this and that. It was like, almost started to be like the music didn't even matter. So But yeah, I mean, being a kid basically and introduced to arena touring and a bus. Hey, I got a bus, you know, and it's like boom, automatic, whatever, and you know,
not
we
only
had
that,
some
but
crazy.
Maiden. If you compare them to other bands, Maiden is amongst crew, band. They're very familial, and therefore there's like this wall. You know, it's in other words, it's very rare where a member of band or crew just goes wandering off to a bar by himself. They you know, their activities are done all together. They're very protected and insulated that way. And I think that cut down on, you know, on, at least for them, on a great deal of potential madness that could have occurred. Of course, there was Hammerjacks in Baltimore.
Right.
My hometown.
Stomping grounds, man. You would appreciate it.
So
remember
here,
that
let me
with
say this.
true horror.
We are a PG-13 show, but reflect a little on Hammerjacks knowing that we're a PG-13. Is that even possible?
Well, we rolled into Maryland with the killer show. I probably sold out at the...
Probably Baltimore Arena.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Grew up
so
going
they, together with a couple record stores and a radio station, they just planned this night at Hammerjacks. I think it was...
They didn't even tell us, but it was us. You know,
Yeah,
it was like
I mean, they had
Waysted after party or
shirts
something like that.
printed, and basically, you know, both bands were going to go there and party and hang out, and they had ads, you know, after show, and you know, both records on sale at Peaches or whatever, you know, and it was like Waysted $5.99. I still have an ad at home with that shit on it, but we went there, and it's like walking into, you know, it was like every fan there was like, holy shit, and you know, the guys from Maiden are here, and it was just like a great party thing.
Yeah, it's so weird for me because like I didn't appreciate what it was at the time because that's just where I went, you know.
Right.
And then I hear you guys talk about it.
I mean, from an outsider's point of view, I'd played there several times in other bands, and you weren't anybody unless you'd managed to waylay one of the Hammerjacks girls, you know, which I'm happy to say we did. But you know, it was under the highway, and so the party was fine. I don't remember much about the party, but I remember we went outside, and all I could think of was Mad Max and Thunderdome. There were little bonfires going. There were like homeless people gathered around the door, or maybe not homeless, maybe they just come out of the bar.
Yeah, right.
And there were fights everywhere. And I remember one of Maiden's truck drivers was squaring off with somebody, and as he's about to get down, he gets sucker punched from behind. He goes down and starts having seizures.
Oh, jeez.
Which, of course, the good people around him started kicking him profusely. And we were like, that's one of our drivers. We can't let that happen.
Yeah.
Me, D, and there was a guy, Big Pete.
Peter,
who was big.
Swedish muscle.
And we just kind of all kind of dove in. And there were these women I remember there's women rolling on the ground, beating each other with high heels.
Oh, jeez.
Dude, it was
Steve
a scene
Hall.
out of like...
Steve Hall tries to break that up, the two women, and the guy stops him and he goes, "Leave him alone or I'll kick your ass." You know, that guy, it was like, what is this place? And so I'm on somebody's back like this, trying to pull him off the driver, and I never saw it. I just turned and just, boom, and that was it. I was down, eye completely shut. Big Pete, same thing.
Yeah, he got a shiner as well.
And then they brought in the EMTs and the cops, and they would not take a report.
Oh, wow.
They were like, "Well, you won't be back. You're in a band. You won't be." I'm like, "I will be here. I live in New York City. I will drive down here. I see the guy laughing right there. No, you're not going to take a report, you long-haired layabout." And that was that.
Yeah,
we all
that was
finished the tour with one eye.
Yeah. It's good.
So thank you, Baltimore.
Yeah. Kick-ass show, by the way.
Literally, yeah. So, like, how is it now? I mean, looking back, like, you guys have staying power. What I mean is, like, here you are. You're like the survivors, man. Like, how come you two, what did you do that you're surviving? And now, like, you know, you're going back up the ladder again. It almost seems like, really.
I want to hear what he has to say about that, because Johnny just works so hard.
I don't know. I guess, you know, the other guys obviously much older than us when we got in the band, and they had already had, I mean, UFO, Jesus, they started in the 60s, for crying out loud. So, you know, Pete's at that point and now starting to have some health issues and all, and we were just lucky enough to get in on that last little the late 80s, man.
Yeah.
That was like, a certain time where things were kind of like what had come before, and it looked like the future was pretty bright, but that door got, slammed on pretty hard, pretty quick, But I think we learned enough, good and bad, learned the hard way, but kind of had that beginning to bring to our next projects or whatever. We had actually a little bit of experience. He knew, I'm not going to get fucked again on writing. I knew that, if I'm going to be a sideman, I got to do certain things and, be in a situation that's going to be beneficial to me. And we just got lucky, man.
At what point did you have to migrate over to playing in Europe? Where was the pivotal point where Europe hung on to this genre? And
I would say for
Europe
me,
just does.
Yeah,
it's still it never went away.
I mean, it was.
They have longer memories. They have. It's allowances. European audiences aren't afraid to like something that's not currently in fashion.
Yeah.
So both can coexist. I would say American audiences, sadly to me, their musical tastes are like eating potato chips.
Yeah,
it's just very, very quick, and so it's therefore it takes decades for something to come back around.
Yeah. It's, just a product of our environments. We were fed like MTV and just next bam, 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 and we were overdosing on it. And while Europe was starving for it, and they got it much later. So, when I first went to Germany in '93, when America was basically covered in flannel,
old grunge thing,
I was like, holy shit, man, we're playing to insane crowds like I had experienced on the Maiden tour, whatever, 8 some years before that. So I was lucky enough to join a European band and somebody that's, much, as dedicated or way more than I ever was, so being with Doro was kind of like, wow, this chick's like serious, like she's going for it, and she's not going to take no for an answer. She's not going to, say I'm not going to do this, I'm just going to go out and do it at whatever level I can. And in the beginning it was really like she had an album in the charts, we had a big tour, but we didn't really go outside of Germany much because, it just wasn't available to us. She couldn't get, her agent was like, well, they'll only pay this or they'll only pay that. We need to stay in Germany and do the good paying gigs. And then she wanted to go out and do other stuff and wasn't really considering, she wasn't motivated by the fees or the money. And I think after the time that went along and how things began to, the whole business sort of went kind of crashing down back to where it started. You had to start all over again and take lesser paying gigs and just go out and really appreciate the fans that you have. And now we're back to this kind of grassroots kind of thing where we're all building it up.
It really is.
And that was Europe for me, and just seeing how Doro works made me appreciate everything much more. And it's like, man, the fan contact and just the care and not being arrogant or standoffish. She's just all about taking the time to make people believe that they are.
I still have to laugh at that music video.
That they're important to her, which they are, because without the fans you have zero. You can have the biggest ego or the best music, but if people think you're an asshole or whatever, you don't take the care to thank them or whatever, then it's like you're nowhere,
Yeah, and to bring that full circle, that's a lesson that I pulled from Pete Way, without a doubt. I remember he would say to me, he says, so I think of it this, Dan, he says, the kid with the camera that wants to take your picture today is a staff photographer for Kerrang tomorrow. And I thought that was a great lesson to be learned. And of course, he knows that firsthand because there was this kid named Steve Harris that used to follow him around.
And also a rookie like Ross Halfin at the time, who they took on the road and tortured, and now he does it to all the bands he works with. It's like, so Pete was definitely, learned a lot from that guy as well, how to drink, not only how to drink, but how to really rock a fucking crowd, man. The dude definitely had it
Yeah.
You know,
Oh,
had it run
he
through
had the
his
mystique.
veins.
There's no question about it. And that's, I always say that. I've learned a great deal of what to do and what not to do from him and Paul.
Yeah.
So talk about this cruise experience a little bit. You know, you guys have been on the same boat together before. Talk about what these cruises mean.
You have to cruises. I mean, they're fantastic. They're a little bit of an illusion that you have to be careful of. A lot of people sort of suddenly think that they're back on top of the world again. You know, and it's like, no, we managed.
It lasts for a week, right?
Yeah, we managed to find a few thousand people that know who we are, and they're all here at once. You know, you try and go out and go play Texas,
pretty realistic,
and Oklahoma, and
perspective.
Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to find that there aren't going to be 5,000 people there each
Right.
time. But I think it's such a clever setup, such a smart thing to do. Most of the musicians I know that come here, they enjoy being in it. There's very few of them that kind of lock themselves in their staterooms and don't come out. It really is, like Johnny's talking about, all that contact. You really do appreciate it. And everybody here's really cool about it, you know, because generally when you meet somebody on tour, they could have been standing at a door for an hour, whatever the situation may be, and they might have 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And they try to just pummel you for 30 seconds with like a life story. It's so intense. And then of course you're trying to pull away because I don't want to, but I gotta go. And here the tension is lower because, so far I've been in the pool, I've been in the gym, people can come up and talk to you and whatever else. So there's that. And then of course it's always like high school reunion.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen Johnny in easily 15 years.
Oh my gosh.
Crazy, because we're both still doing it, but you moved to Europe, I'm still in the States. We weren't really connecting, but to meet on here, and now it's like third time.
Yeah, you again.
Hey, you're down. What room are you in again?
I know.
Yeah.
I'm
But
still
to
waiting.
me,
I'm still
it's
waiting for that reunion performance.
We gotta do it. I mean, it's just, I keep talking to Larry about, like, just giving me a stage for, give me something for a half an hour and let me throw together a jam, and we can just do it, man. But maybe next time, But
Yeah, I
to
got my
me,
fingers
just to
crossed for it.
reiterate that, the cruise thing, it's like, to me, it's one of the best festival experiences, almost even from a fan standpoint, because I've done, festivals in Europe or whatever, and could be a weather issue, like our Good Wales Day, walking around with trash bags tied to your feet, in the mud. But this is cool because you're not using porta pots. You're not sleeping on dirt or in a tent or whatever. You have your own room. You have food at your availability, all you want, whenever you want. You have, booze, of course. You can shower, you can nap, you can do whatever you need to do, take care of all your bits, and come right back and check out the next band. And so it really is a cool thing, and you're bringing everybody into a pretty confined area, which could freak some people out. I think if you're cool with this situation, it's a great thing. Some people don't care for cruises, some people don't care for that kind of fan interacting, but
some people are just very shy too.
Yeah.
Surprisingly.
True enough.
but
yeah.
I think it's a good trade-off for both sides. We get to perform in front of a crowd that's into not necessarily your particular band, but the genre, and they might, I remember those
Loyal
guys.
to it.
Next thing you know, you got 50 new fans, and then it's like, I've seen these guys build their thing up just from playing on here and like taking it, to the next level. Now they're doing more festivals, and the band has a new record out, and it's like
both bands. Eldora just put out one last year or recently,
like I said,
and you got
it's
a new
like-
one out.
we're back to building a relationship with music.
At least
fans.
being in the game.
Yeah.
And that's back to part of the whole Survivor thing that we're talking about. And there's different reasons why different people survive. Some people are just fairly well pickled, and therefore they get through anything. But I mean, I remember the Waysted times as there was definitely a support system between the two Americans. and trying to deal with it. Not that they were bad to us or anything, but they had their thing. They had, it's been going on since, like Johnny said, since the '60s.
Yeah.
We were trying to just catch up and not get ground down, and understand this lifestyle. So we had that kind of support system, and it carries through. The first cruise that I got on, and Johnny was on it, it just lit me up, because Johnny is still one of my favorite people, and it was just, it all comes back to you right away. You see each other, and it's like, oh man, I really like this guy, and you just catch up where you left off, and that happens quite a bit. Back to the high school reunion thing, constantly running into people, I was there at this thing, and think, oh my God, 25 years ago. Memories clear.
I've seen people walk up to you, like, it must be kind of cool when somebody comes up with some old vinyl or something. Does that happen to you? They come up with your stuff like, where did this come from?
Yeah, a couple collectors, once in a while you see something you never saw before, or, it's just cool that people will dig that deep into your past, or maybe even had been there at that time, what I mean?
Yeah.
Finally catching up with you all these years later.
And you're playing in front of your peers. I mean, the amount of times, there's been a couple moments. I think the last time I was looking at, and we weren't even in the big room, we were in the Spinnaker. Yeah. And like Johnny was there, everybody from Y&T was there, CJ from Firehouse was there, Kip Winger came up front while I'm playing, going, "You sound great, dude." It's just like, Red Beach is there, and I'm like, awesome. Damn, you best turn this on, So that's part of it too, cool. And getting to go see your peers, which you rarely get to do, because they're in that town.
Yeah, and the festivals, you're 25 minutes on, get on, get out.
Right, you've usually got somewhere else to go.
Yeah, exactly.
Early flight.
That was hilarious. What you posted in Barcelona. He was like trying to sleep in the hotel in Barcelona, and then I heard this warbling. I know that voice. and suddenly he's side stage. It was great.
Hey, so man, I really appreciate how much time you took with me today, and this has been really special for me. I hope it was kind of cool for you guys to catch back up. So any parting thoughts? Why don't each of you tell the world what you got going on? I know Dora's got new music out, I know you got music out, so whoever wants to go first, let's tell us what Dora is up to these days.
Dora is, we just finished a couple gigs on the East Coast.
And Brittany Fox, by the way, too. Tell us about them.
So Dora will be returning to Germany in November, December. We have our pretty typical winter tour, which we do almost every year, which is around the holidays, and it's a real good time for us to tour, and I enjoy it a lot because it's like a nice run where we have a crew, and it's not like these like in and out gigs. It's like, wow, you can actually like get settled in and see the progress from gig to gig and stuff like that. So I always enjoy that. Plus Germany in the wintertime is awesome with the Christmas markets and stuff like that. It's weird. I get more Christmas spirit over there than I ever do at the local mall in Philly or whatever,
That makes sense.
Pretty cool. I enjoy that. And so we have about 6 songs in the can, and she's going to continue from like January, February, writing and recording some stuff, and then that'll come out. We have the 30-year anniversary DVD out, which is amazing. Real proud of that one. It's a great package, fan piece. It's got a documentary and 2 shows in Dusseldorf, and an orchestra show and a rock show with tons of guests like Biff and Udo and all these people, and that's a great thing. And Brittany Fox is moving a little bit slower because that kind of takes up a lot of my time.
Sure.
But we don't really get together as often like we used to. We would just get in a room and write songs and then record them, but now we're like sending files, and this one's busy and that guy's it. So it's a little bit tougher, but I think we needed to come out and do some gigs to kind of get the mojo working again. So we're still finding our feet. We lost a lot of time being away, and but it's good to be here and definitely play this gig. So,
speaking as a member of last night's audience, you guys want to get out and see this.
Absolutely.
Because I was impressed, because I know you don't have much time.
Yeah.
And I was impressed. I mean, you guys were so tight, and there was so much good coming off that stage.
That's great.
His
Thanks,
voice is
man.
outstanding.
We really,
totally agree.
I think we lucked out in a way because we, we've had a few that were not so great, but this was really needed to hit this one, out of the park, and they gave us a good slot, and it was really fun, and so we're just going to keep moving, see where we had, if we can get a record out sometime next year, that would be nice.
Oh, awesome.
It'll probably make some people happy. But
and then Danny, tell us about Reach. Everything else you guys got going.
Well, it's funny because all the other stuff that we do, I always think of it. If you're a musician now and you operate anywhere below the very top 1%, I think we're jugglers. There's always 3 or 4 balls in the air. There just has to be, because Taiketo doesn't occupy my full year.
Right.
I've got my Ultimate Eagles tribute thing that I do, and that keeps the wolf away from the door and all that. And then, different things sort of come up. So, Taiketo has started to really blossom again since we've gotten Chris Green on guitar, and we've got Chris Childs from Thunder on bass. And so suddenly everybody's game is really getting upped. And the guys, it's so funny to be playing on stage with such monster players, guys like Chris Green, who are also huge fans that came up listening to Taiketo, and that reminds me of how long I've been at it. The new album is Reach, and it's October 14th. And again, Talking in Circles, recorded at Rockfield Studios, which was the first professional studio we were ever in, which was in 1986, I think, or 85 even. Yeah. So you're talking 31 years.
Living on the farm, in a farmhouse in Wales.
Nothing's changed. The same people own it. Yep, nothing's changed, and that's what's so wonderful about it. And I wish, in this day and age, I just wish that every musician, every band would get one opportunity to do an album that way. Get off their laptops and have this experience.
Just go live somewhere and with really very little distraction and just create organically.
And being surrounded by this vintage gear, which if you're looking for something, it was kind of like Phineas J. Whoopi going into the where is it? It's in here somewhere.
And
stuff flying around. Here it is, this microphone from 1942 that Hitler once used. And, you just, wow, where is this stuff coming from? It's very inspirational. It's very inspirational to wake up, on the Welsh countryside, and just think, I have nothing to do today but drink coffee and play music.
Well, man, Johnny D, Danny Vaughn, Johnny of all your bands, Brittany and Doro and NXS still, right? Still doing Kick
tribute, which is real super fun. So I got a couple gigs with them coming
and
up.
then Danny, of course, of Taiketo, and man, so good to see you guys, and I can't thank you enough for being on the show, guys. Thanks so much for doing this.
Man.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.